So let's start with the winner of the night, which was Monsters Inc. coming in at, well, Monsters University actually, coming in at 8 out of 11. The start reveals that indeed Mike wants to be a scarer. So how's that got me thinking, how's he going to transform to a door operator rather than a scarer? Well, obviously that's what the movie's going to be about. There's not Sully yet. In fact, his roommate, Mike's roommate for the intro of the film is Randall, and it looks like they're going to be friends. It looks like Randall's going to be a large part of this film, but he really isn't. He really doesn't come into play all that much. He's a much bigger part in Monsters, Inc. But the movie does start to develop really fast, and it is funny. The first day, I bet that Dean Heart Scramble, as they call her, will be our bad guy, or antagonist at least. And antagonist was the case. There wasn't really a bad guy in this, just a whole bunch of antagonists. And after that, then we finally meet Sully minutes into the movie, and when I say minutes, I mean like a good 15. It's clear Mike has no liking to him yet, but he makes a good point about scaring. What I mean is, Sully is a doer. He goes and does it. He scares, and Mike is just a study bunny. So he just studies it and doesn't really perform it. So that could be an explanation for why Mike ends up in a tech job. A montage reveals Mike training with Randall and Sully just having fun. Something tells me tutoring by Mike is going to be coming up. But as the montage continues, Mike seems to be getting scarier, while Sully is just doing the same thing over and over again. But at the final exam, the dean has a prize scream canister, and when Sully knocks it over because of a fight he and Mike are in, they are both kicked out of the program, scaring program. It's the scare games that may hold the answer, and it also holds a bet. Either Mike's back in the program, or he's kicked out of Monsters University. And this goes for Sully and the rest of the people of Uzma Kappa, which is one of the fraternities there. See, Sully was in a fraternity earlier in the movie, but got kicked out when he was kicked out of the scare program. So it moves on with some odd initiation, and I mean odd, even for a monster initiation. Anyway, that's the setup for the movie. So far, the voice actors are very similar, and it looks like this movie is on its way to a good plot, with a good point. One odd thing is the human toys are causing injuries in this movie, which is not the case. In Monsters, Inc., it becomes very clear to the audience that human toys cannot actually do damage to monsters. So I don't get how human toys can do damage to monsters in the prequel. Maybe they weren't really human toys. Anyway, the 3D is decent. It is very depth. It's not a ton of stuff jumping at you. That was reserved for World War Z. I'll get to that later in a different video. In Mike's leadership, well, maybe that's why he'll be a door operator. See, he does have very good leadership leading the team, and he and Sully just are starting to get along. The movie continues with no major conflict in the plot for a while, and finally Sully got into it, and as I said, they're starting to get along. There is a moment where it looks like it's going to stall, but after just a couple of minutes, the plot keeps going. So at this moment, I'm going to go into spoilers now. All in all, an 8 out of 11 for this movie. So after two events, Uzma Kappa is popular. Or not, when it turns out it was all just a prank. This movie just plummeted into the sad zone, only to rocket back up into the happy zone. There is no stoppage in this. As I said earlier, there really was no stalling for this movie. So now Sully and Mike are starting to get along. As I said, they discover that they sneak into Monsters Inc. and watch the scarers on the scare floor. This is also the first time we hear some music that originally came from Monsters Inc. Another montage after they run away, because they're discovered by security guards, shows Uzma Kappa getting even better, much better, to the point that they are leading the scare games now. They win two events up against Roar Omega Roar, which is the fraternity Sully was a part of and the fraternity to be in on campus. And they end up winning in the simulator, but the conflict resumes as the dean tells Sully there's no way Mike will scare the simulated child. Mike gave Sully the smarts to add to that scariness, and so Sully tries to teach scariness to know-it-all Mike, but it fails because at the final event, even though Sully ties it up, Mike versus the Roar Omega Roar leader, I expected some sort of sabotage at this point, but it's not so. But I knew something had to be up. Mike wins it for Uzma Kappa. I didn't believe it. Can it really be it? And I knew it wasn't, and sure enough, it seems that Sully turned the simulator down to easy instead of the hardest difficulty like it was supposed to be on. So what now? Well, when Sully tells the dean, she's like, oh, I'm going to have to kick you guys out of school now. Just then a siren goes off. Mike has opened a real door, not a simulator door, a real door into the human world, because he wants to try, because Sully did explain to him that he turned the setting down. So Mike wants to see if he can really scare someone, and when he can't, Sully has to run in to save him. But there is a huge scare after about, I'd say, 10 minutes is spent in the human world. So we do visit the human world in this movie as well as in Monsters Inc. And there is a giant scare, the biggest the university has ever seen, even bigger than the dean's. And they repower the door and get back to the monster world from the human world. To end it all, the dean still has to expel them, but she says she respects them as well for surprising her, which is something that no one could ever do. And she wishes them good luck. After one final montage, it's revealed Mike and Sully have started a job at Monsters Inc. They start in the mailroom and they're promoted to this is all during the credits. They're promoted to working in the cafe, then janitors, and then one other position, I forget which it is, and then they're promoted to Scare Team, which is where we start off in the first in Monsters Incorporated, I should say. And so all in all, 8 out of 11, good movie. One I'll buy, probably not. This isn't a movie I would watch more than once. One I would rent to watch with one of my younger cousins, probably. It's just kind of funny because they have no clue what's coming next, and I mean the characters. Cue boo! Anyway, that's it for Monsters Inc. I'm gonna do the review for World War Z right now as well.